Jacob and Rebekah. There's really, really good things that we can take from this story, and then there's really, really bad things that we can take from this story. Things to imitate, and then things to stay away from. I took most of these notes, or most of these ideas from Bible.org. I can link it below so you can go read the actual article, because it was really good and it explained it really well. At the start, Jacob sees Rachel. That's... Personally, this is getting into something else, but I don't believe in love at first sight. I believe in infatuation at first sight and lust at first sight, but not love at first sight. Definitions of infatuation and love from Bible.org. Infatuation says, I feel good when I'm with you, so I want to hurry up and get you to the altar before I lose you and these good feelings. And then love, I want your happiness most of all. I'm willing to wait to be sure this is what's best for you. To me, love is a commitment, and it's an ongoing, it's not just an emotion. It's something that words. If you don't know the story, go read it. But basically, Jacob goes to Laban, that's his name, yeah, Rachel's dad, and he's like, I want to marry Rachel. And Laban's like, okay, how about if you work for me for 7 years first? So that's what Jacob did. Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel. This is verse 20, chapter 29. They seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her, which is so sweet. Jacob ended up waiting 7 years for Rachel. He ended up waiting another 7 years for Rachel, because then he accidentally married Rachel's sister, but that's a whole nother story. Okay, after Laban told him, you have to work for me for 7 years to marry Rachel, Jacob could have bailed right then and there, but instead he thought that she was worth it and thought that she was worth the wait. And then after he worked those 7 years and ended up with Leah instead, he could have bailed again and said, no, this isn't worth it. I'm not going to work another 7 years for you. He could have took Leah and ran, but instead he said, no, Rachel's worth the wait. And, you know, Jacob stuck with Rachel through all of the crap she put him through. Another quote from that website, I think Jacob really did grow to love Rachel during those 7 years. The physical attraction was still there, but he could not live in such close contact with her through a 7-year engagement period and not learn a great deal about her, good and bad. Had it not been for this long engagement and Jacob's deepening and maturing love, it probably would not have survived at all. One great test of true love, therefore, is the ability to wait. They're not wrong. Waiting 7 years for someone will definitely help you get to know them better and help you get to know whether you really do want to commit basically your whole life to this person. Oh, I thought it was funny when Laban, Rachel's dad, was like, better that I give her to you than to some other man. So the biggest thing that I got out of this was love waits and is worth it. It's devoted and it loves despite flaws. Because later on in the story, in chapter 30, we see how Rachel's discontentment with her inability to have kids, and with Jacob, and with basically being married to the same guy as her sister, we see how that pretty much ruined their lives. Rachel had flaws, but Jacob still loved her. He was still devoted to her. Bible.org says love that functions only when she's sweet isn't love, because love is a commitment and a choice and not just a feeling. Jacob was a great example of how a guy should commit, and Rachel was a great example of how discontentment can ruin your relationships.